Hello, my name is Andreas Guevara Nadeau, and I am an urban planning master's student at the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. My master's capstone project is called Investigations to the Declining Housing Market in a Shrinking City. My project investigates why the housing market in the city of Jamestown, New York has been declining for the last 10 years. To help with my investigations, I will observe if the condition of a house affects the property value, and if population, demographics, income, and employment affect the house's condition. The city of Jamestown has a population of 29,000 people and is located on the west end of the state of New York. Jamestown is an early industrial town with some of the oldest and most affordable housing in the U.S. The city population has been declining for a long time, and the value of homes have been increasing slower than inflation. Therefore, the housing market is depreciating faster than the market rise. After looking through the census data of the last 10 years and speaking to Jamestown residents, it seems that there's a vicious cycle that is a real threat to the housing market. With fewer people and low home values means less demand in a weaker market. To better measure the housing market, I looked at the housing survey rating conducted by the CZB firm and published in the Jamestown Neighborhood Revitalization Plan. The rating system is pretty straightforward. Each property has been evaluated on the quality and condition of the home and property. If a property is well maintained and is expected to be sold in its highest home value, it gets a rating of 1, excellent. If a property is poorly maintained, neglected, or abandoned, then the property gets a rating of 6, which is poor, and gets sold at the lowest possible price. Looking at the average sale price shown in the figure to the right, the impact of low housing conditions significantly affect the house's price. A home with each step-down rating loses its value by 30%. If a property is next to a lower rating property, the home loses more of its sale price value. However, I want to better understand why properties are not being well maintained and see if there is any relationship with the census data that I have gathered. I really think that the housing market can greatly benefit if low-rating properties become stable. The most detailed census data I've gathered are within census tract block groups shown on the slide. To simplify the housing survey in the block groups, I've created my own rating system for each block. This gives me a better sense of where the concentrated property types are located at. On this slide, you will see the 2018 maps of population, density, rent, and the year the house was built. I did not see any particular relationship with the data and survey rating, but it did help me have a better overall context of the city. Here you see the median household income, and there seems to be a strong relationship with the housing survey rating. Of course, income plays a significant role in a household's quality of life and the ability to own and maintain a home. To better understand the income, I will further investigate the Jamestown economy later on. The most interesting map I have discovered so far is the ratio of renters to owners. This map shows a strong relationship to the housing survey rating. Further investigations show that rental properties are more likely to have lower property ratings overall. But the reason for this needs more research. However, general observations suggest that low rent makes it harder for the landlord to reinvest and maintain the property. And landlords who are not residents of Jamestown are not as invested in the community in maintaining the property. However, further investigations are needed. Lastly, I want to briefly go over the Jamestown economy. Overall, Jamestown has been losing jobs for the last 10 years. The largest employers of the city and county have been losing the most jobs. However, some industries have grown, including the arts and entertainment, warehousing, and the healthcare sectors. Sadly, many of the jobs residents rely on may not be around in the next 10 years. However, new emerging markets may give some new opportunities to a few residents. But overall, it may not help the housing market in the long run if households cannot afford to maintain their homes. In conclusion, the 3 biggest culprits that are causing the low housing conditions, which in turn brings down the housing market, are the declining population, the shrinking economy, and whether or not households are renters or homeowners. The Jamestown Neighborhood Revitalization Plan has government programs that are implemented to improve the housing circumstances. This includes the Clustered Good Neighborhood Initiative and the Good Landlord Project. However, one significant impact the city does not mention is the economy. In the end, I believe that there are many unique and enjoyable characteristics for the city of Jamestown, like the people, history, and uniqueness of the city, and should continue to be invested for the years to come. Thank you very much for listening to my presentation.